Some
All ready?
ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call our city council meeting for July the 12th, 2018 to order. I'm going to ask you to please rise for the invocation and pledge led by Councilman Oles.
Father, thank you for this day you've given us to join together to conduct your business for this beautiful city. Bless us each, every one, Lord, to conduct it in a manner that be pleasing to you. Bless each and every one here tonight, those serving for us in every capacity of this city and our citizens. Protect us all across this city, state, and country. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Council members, this is the night that we take once a month to introduce our new employees. And I'm going to ask, since I don't have a list.
Aren't you in red? Isn't that highlighted?
I got it in red, but I don't see the name of people. Thank you. Thank you. We have a short list tonight. This is our new employees for the month that we've hired, bringing them before you to introduce them to their council members. From our finance department, we've got Dana Bull, business license clerk. Come on down here and stand up front, sweetheart. I don't bite, but some of those do. You can stand right over here, sweetheart. And from our police department, Joshua Klein's a police officer, and Christopher Gorman, police officer. Council members, this is the new hires for the month. We want to introduce you to our council members. These are the folks that put the money together for the budget, assign responsibilities to you, and it's an opportunity for you to get to know them, because at times you will run into them out in the street because they're out there representing our citizens in events and things that take place. Being a servant of the public, and that's what job you're undertaking, is a very great calling. It gives you an opportunity to provide service to the people that live in the community that you live in and still get paid to do it, no matter how nominal sometimes we feel it might be. But it's an opportunity to try to make the place that you live in a little bit better for yourselves, your families, and everybody else. We salute you for choosing to become a part of the city of North Charleston. And we look forward to you being here with us for a long time. And hopefully it will be a pleasant experience for you and us as well. God bless you. Thank you for coming. These are the folks that sets the rules and guidelines. And we just appreciate you being a part of Team North Charleston. God bless you. And we've got another retirement tonight. And this is one of the tough retirements because I can assure you these employees are well underpaid. They're not underfed, but they're underpaid. And I'm going to ask K-9 felon and PFC James Greenawalt to please come forward. I'm going to ask everybody to stand. This is one of our K-9s. Our K-9 division is a very wonderful division within our agency. They not only make friends readily, they also can scare people readily. Sometimes when they have to, it's amazing. You walk into a situation and you can have 4 or 5 police officers standing around, and they open that door and that dog gets out, and the dog could be sitting there smiling, but people will calm down and do what they need to do. He's been a wonderful team member, and we're just so pleased that he's been a part of us. When our dogs retire, they retire with their owner or their trainer, the guy that's working with them. And he's been a wonderful officer, and we just appreciate your dedication and service with him to the community of the city of North Charleston. And I would like to ask the clerk if she will read the resolution that we have.
I'm happy to. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to transfer K-9 felon police dog to the care and ownership of Patrolman First Class James Greenawalt. Whereas the City Council of the City of North Charleston has determined that it would be in the best interest of the city and the citizens of North Charleston to transfer the ownership of K-9 felon police dog for the City of North Charleston Police Department to PFC James Greenawalt. And whereas K-9 felon and PFC Greenawalt have been with the K-9 unit for over 8 years, and PFC Greenawalt is desirous of adopting K-9 felon, and the city believes that such a transfer to be in the best interest of all concerned. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and city council of the City of North Charleston in council assembled, that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute all documents necessary to transfer K-9 felon to the care, custody, and ownership of PFC James Greenawalt. Congratulations.
We are basically officially making him a part of the family because that's what they are. My uncle, my dad's youngest brother, was a police officer in Atlanta, and he had a dog, and I never will forget, back then they didn't have their assigned vehicles, and he had a little convertible, and the dog used to eat his way through the back window when he wanted out. But they caught a bank robber, and my uncle said it was so great that the bank rewarded the dog with a sterling silver food bowl.
Nice.
And 50 pounds of steak. He said the dog did not get the steak. But they are a team, and watching our men and women in law enforcement work with the animals and the love and respect that's a mutual thing that is shown back and forth between the trainer, the owner, and the animal. We appreciate what both of you have done to contribute in your time together to our department and our city as a whole. And we hope our friend has many wonderful years left to sit back and talk about the things that went on when he was working. But it is such a great opportunity for you and your family, because I know dogs, I've got 4. They are not just a member to one person. They are a member of the family for the whole. Where's the rest of the family? The rest of the family here? Oh, look at it. Look at it. Lord have mercy, son, you got a big family. And I know that they're going to take care of you and love you as much as you've been loved. And again, as a city, we thank you for your service to us, and we greatly appreciate you, my friend. God bless you. All right. This is the resolution for you to keep, and he told me, he whispered in my ear and said he didn't have much to say, so he was going to give you an opportunity too.
I just appreciate the opportunity to actually work a job in North Charleston. It was awesome.
Thank you, my friend. Bless you. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Madam Clerk, please continue with the friendly agenda.
That's going to clear us right out.
Brought a lot of people in with them.
All the family member came out.
Won't be anybody left.
Yes.
Wow.
The dog holds a lot of interest, huh?
I'm glad he's not running for mayor. That dog gets some votes.
I want to carry him around with
I'm going to carry him around with me when I'm campaigning.
Item number 1 is a request to approve the minutes from the June 28th, 2018 City Council meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any corrections or discussions? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Mr. Brown? He's not here, is he? Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Excuse me. Item 2 is the final reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to administratively review and approve subordination requests of active home mortgages.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 3 is the final reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 11 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of North Charleston to add Section 1134, parking in disobedience to posted restrictions prohibited.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 4 is the final reading of an ordinance amending subsection 2-41A of the municipal ordinances of the City of North Charleston to update the rules regarding public appearance before council and committees of council.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 5 is the final reading of an ordinance authorizing and directing the closing and abandonment of a portion of the Doyle Avenue right-of-way.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 6 is the final reading of an ordinance authorizing and directing the closing and abandonment of the Wisteria Avenue right-of-way.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 7 is the first reading of an ordinance rezoning the property addressed as 2026 Bolton Street, Charleston County, TMS number 47216000081 from R1 Single Family Residential to B2 General Business, and concurrently amending the comprehensive plan's future land use map for the same parcel, changing it from Single Family Traditional to Major Business Retail in Council District 7.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, all. The first request we have this evening is a proposed rezoning for 2026 Bolton Street. The requested rezoning is from R1 Single Family Residential to B2 General Business. There you have an aerial of the property along Bolton Street. And we zoom out and see the neighborhood where it's close to the intersection of Bolton Street and Rivers Avenue. The proposed rezoning request is from R1 Single Family Residential, and that's represented in the yellow there, to B2 General Business, which is shown in the red on the map. And the rezoning request would require an amendment to the comprehensive plan, which currently designates the property as Single Family Traditional, shown in the yellow, to Major Business Retail. The subject property is an undeveloped parcel located in the Ferndale community just off of Rivers Avenue. The applicant has requested that the property be rezoned from R1 to B2. Commercial zoning in this location would represent an expansion of commercial activity into the neighborhood, which the neighborhood residents have opposed over the years. The comprehensive plan's future land use map does designate the property as single-family traditional use, and an amendment to the comprehensive plan would be required. Given the desire to maintain the residential character internal to Ferndale and the fact that the requested zoning is not supported by the future land use map, staff has recommended denial of the rezoning request, and the Planning Commission has recommended denial as well.
Any questions by council? Hearing none, is being referred to our Public Safety Committee meeting, which meets next Tuesday?
Tuesday the 24th.
Tuesday the 24th, because we had to change it because some of our council people are out of town on this trip. So 24th, Tuesday, 5 p.m.
Item 8 is the first reading of an ordinance rezoning the property addressed as 4609 Watkins Road, Charleston County, TMS 408-1400056, from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Multifamily Residential, and concurrently amending the comprehensive plan future land use map for the same parcel, changing it from Single Family Suburban to Multifamily Residential in Council District 5.
As Madam Clerk mentioned, the proposed rezoning is at 4609 Watkins Road, and that's in Charleston County, from the existing zoning of R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Multifamily Residential. There's an aerial view of the property at Watkins Road, and you can see it's near the intersection with West Montague Avenue. And a zoomed out view of the neighborhood. The proposed rezoning request is to rezone the property from R1 Single Family Residential, designated by the light yellow on the map, to R2 Multifamily Residential, which is a brown color there. And the rezoning would require an amendment to the comprehensive plan future land use map. The property is currently designated Single Family Suburban, and it would need to be changed to Multifamily Residential. Subject property is a vacant lot located at the corner of Watkins Road and West Montague Avenue. A legal but non-conforming manufactured home was recently removed from the property. The applicant is requesting to rezone the subject property to R2 Multifamily Residential, which will require an amendment to the comprehensive plan's future land use map. The neighborhood along Watson Road is made up of single-family homes. There is a mix of residential uses to the rear of the property and across West Montague Avenue, including mobile homes, single-family houses, and apartments. Comprehensive Plan's future land use map has designated the property as single-family and would require an amendment to multifamily residential to support the rezoning. Given the adjacent single-family uses along Watkins Road and the fact that the requested zoning is not supported by the future land use map, staff has recommended denial of the rezoning request, and the Planning Commission has also recommended denial.
Any questions by council? It will be transferred to the Public Safety Committee, which meets on the 24th at 5 p.m.
Excuse me. Item 9 is the first reading of an ordinance rezoning the properties addressed as 8449, 8479, 8481, 8490, 8499, and 8501 Palmetto Commerce Parkway and 9770 Patriot Boulevard, Charleston County TMS numbers 390, lots 53 and 31 and 185 from M1 Light Industrial to PD Planned Development, a vehicle manufacturing complex in Council District 4.
As Madam Clerk had mentioned, there is a request to rezone several properties on Palmetto Commerce Parkway, 8449, 8481, 8490, and 8499, and 8501. These properties are currently zoned M1 Light Industrial, and the request is to have them into a planned development district. There's an aerial view of the properties along Palmetto Commerce Parkway. And again, the subject request is to be rezoned from M1 Light Industrial, which is represented in the light purple there, it's kind of hard to tell, to planned development. The future land use map currently designates the properties as light industrial. The subject parcels represent a large area of land at the intersection of Palmetto Commerce Parkway and Patriot Boulevard. All of the subject properties have been developed in the last several years as part of the Mercedes-Benz vehicle manufacturing complex. The applicant has submitted a planned development district guidelines to rezone the subject parcels from M1 to PD planned development to be known as vehicle manufacturing complex. This PDD would allow a mix of uses on the property that would provide Mercedes-Benz the flexibility to expand its operational and physical footprint in the region as an auto manufacturer. The property meets the size, access, and other requirements to be considered for the PDD. The proposed PDD allows for a range of uses associated with the business and professional services required to manufacture and assemble automobiles. These uses include, but are not limited to, administration, production, sales, development, distribution, human resources, legal counsel, and any other services related to the vehicle manufacturing and assembly facility inclusive of its subcontractors. Additionally, accessory uses primarily associated with the approach to doing business would be allowed in the PDD. There's a list of the accessory uses up there. The proposed PDD will also allow any industrial uses provided that those activities do not create a nuisance beyond the property lines, as well as off-street parking, parking structures, and stormwater retention ponds would be allowed. Based on the conceptual build-out of the facility, manufacturing and assembly will consume 24% of the total area. Another 30% would be product parking and circulation, 4% of the property would be railroad, 2% office administration, and 13% would be stormwater detention. The remaining 20% of the property would be associated with employee parking, circulation, and site buffering. The PDD allows land use designations to vary up to 20% from the build-out acreage by land use designation area. The PDD would also amend several city requirements, including buffers, landscaping, signage, parking, tree mitigation, and traffic study requirements. And there you have a list of the sections that are proposed to be amended in the zoning ordinance. The locations of the properties surrounded by light industrial uses on a major thoroughfare, along with the presence of multiple major thoroughfares and the existence of adjacent light industrial future land uses, provide an acceptable framework for the proposed PDD. Accordingly, staff has recommended approval of the PDD, and the Planning Commission has also recommended approval.
Any questions by council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I always enjoy it when I hear you point out quite correctly that our city is the only municipality in North America that provides a venue for the production of vehicles and aircraft. We'll have an interesting discussion of this on the 24th. I think council will find that this has been kind of a model of collaborative planning. It certainly is indicated when we think about Mercedes' commitment to our community, to our state, and our commitment to Mercedes. This is a very, very special initiative. And incidentally, Mr. Mayor, we have a representative group from Mercedes with us tonight.
Thank you for being here. All right. Well, we're going to refer it to our Public Safety Committee meeting, which meets on the 24th at 5 p.m.
Item 10 is the first reading of an ordinance amending the Garco Park Plan Development District addressed as shown. Charleston County TMS numbers 47116, lots 14, 130, 237, 241, 247, and 252 to 257 to make changes in the PDD regarding permitted land uses and requirements in Council District 8.
As Madam Clerk mentioned, there are several addresses existing within the Garco PD, and this is a proposal to amend the existing PD. The blue lines indicate an outline of all the parcels within the existing planned development district. And there you have an aerial view of the neighborhood that abuts Virginia Avenue there. The proposed rezoning is to make changes regarding the permitted land uses, setbacks, public road configurations, and required on-site parking within the existing planned development district. And the future land use map does currently designate the area as mixed use, and portions of it are designated also as major business retail, shown there in the red at the south end of the property. The Garco PDD is located just north of East Montague Avenue and the Park Circle area. The applicant has submitted the Sixth Amendment to the Garco Park Plan Development District. The changes proposed in the amendment include updating the list of property owners, reducing the maximum building height, providing specific parking requirements, revising the methodology for determining parking, modifying the conceptual land use summary to broaden the scope of uses allowed, and incorporating an updated master plan exhibit and traffic study. For the most part, the proposed changes are minor in nature. The most significant change proposed in this amendment is expanding the permissible uses within the PDD. The current PD provides a conceptual use table that designates uses on a per parcel basis, and the proposed amendment would broaden the permissible uses allowed on the different tracts. Given that the uses have always been contemplated at Garco, varying their locations across the PDD does not seem out of character with the existing document. The remaining changes are fairly minor and/or administrative. Staff has recommended approval of the amendment to the Garco Park PDD, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval as well.
Any questions by council? Hearing none, it'll be referred to the Public Safety Committee, which meets on the 24th at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Item 11 is the first reading of an ordinance annexing 2174 Midland Park Road, Section 52U, and a portion of the right-of-way of Midland Park Road in Council District 6.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion for first reading carries unanimously. Item 12 is the first reading of an ordinance annexing 2612 Warm Avenue and a portion of the right-of-way of Warm Avenue in Council District 2, Section 52V.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And item 13 is the first reading of an ordinance annexing 2 parcels on Latson Road, Section 52W, TMS numbers 390, lots 080 and 081 in Council District 4.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson? Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Skipper?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Summy.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And we have one request to address council from Ms. Jamison.
Please come forward, give your name and address for the record, and give us your remarks.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Citizens of North Charleston, good evening. I don't want to turn my back to anybody. Mayor Summy and Council, I'm here this evening speaking on behalf of the District 3 communities. We are bombarded with noise throughout our communities. There is a new venture coming, the Palmetto Commerce Interchange, that's going to put added burden on us again. We had been working with everybody, sending letters, going to meetings, being informed as to what's going on. I recently met with Charleston County to hear the good news that they were going to put this quality of life issue, combine it with the Palmetto Commerce Interchange. But of course I got a no answer, saying that SCDOT, even with a Plan A project, would not allow them to do this because there's not enough citizens being negatively impacted. Someone said that we bought our homes and the I-26 was there, and I would agree with that. But since that time, a road that was maybe at 75% capacity has gone to a 200% capacity, as described by SCDOT. We know that we work every day, especially with Carter, to get the cars off the road, but the trucks will still be there. Every venue that we're creating in the city of North Charleston has to do with commercial growth and development. And I think because of this human issue and because it affects 10,000 people in the District 3, that we need to find a way to give us our quality of life back. So many times, because you're not directly involved, you have a tendency not to feel that need to help. But tonight, I am asking each member on City Council, and I am asking the mayor of the city of North Charleston, with over 110,000 people, with a budget of $125 million, to get to work on finding a way for us to get our quality of life back, our property value, and our sanity level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We have, I have something I want to play for you. We hired a young man. Tony, stick your head out the door over there. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, but we hired Tony from one of the local TV stations a while back. The sole purpose is to try to create more of a dialogue with the public through media. The world that is out there today is a lot different than it was when I was coming up. Everything's on the internet and things of that nature. And there's been this thing going around the country called lip syncing, and it's with the police officers. And so Tony put this together for us. Tony, it went out yesterday? Yeah, it went out yesterday. How many hits have we had? 450,000 so 450,000 hits so far. And I'm going to let you look at it, and I think you'll know why. Okay.
Hope I don't mess it up now.
You got it.
It's a big buildup.
Can you put the square in the bottom right corner of the video?
Oh, come on. Tony, come out here.
Tony's coming to the rescue. Because we need to be
Good,
able to back it up and hear it.
I got no audio, my dear. And that's a shame.
You cannot sing that song.
Why not?
This is what you picked. You cannot sing that song.
You heard the captain. It's not going to
You
work.
can't. It's not going to work.
All right.
You cannot.
I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am. Not gonna forget.
You know I'm back, like I never left. Another sprint, another step, another day, another breath. Been chasing dreams, but I never slept.
Come on away from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
We gon' roll in the world. You like to laugh at me when I look at another girl. Sometimes you're crazy, then you wonder why. You drive us wild, you drive you crazy. You keep on shouting, you keep on shouting. I wanna rock and roll all night.
When you're feeling sad and low, we will take you where you gotta go. Smiling, dancing, everything is free.
What you can't dance, ain't got rhythm. What you got a man, I'll see you with him. Put your phone down, let's get it. Forget your Instagram and your Twitter. You'll be like, whoa, wait a minute. You need to take a minute.
You all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
No, all the planes we flew, good things we've been through. Then I'll be standing right here talking to you about another path. I know we love to hit the road and laugh.
Glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am. Not gonna forget. I'm heading through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious, glorious. I feel glorious, glorious. I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again.
We want to thank our officers for letting us have a little fun with them so that the general public, especially a lot of our young people, can understand our cops are normal people. They're out there doing a job. They want to have communication with them. And so we're trying to show how we can find ways to have better communication. Out of the 450,000, Bob, I think you appreciate this one. The greatest answer that came is some young man came and said, I'm going to speed through North Charleston so those three gals can lock me up. So, I don't know what he meant by that, but anyway. But it's, and Tony, we just want to thank you for the job you're doing to help us lighten ourselves up in the public's eye sometimes with the, what we do as a community. Anything else to come before the body?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
The chairman of the Facility Commission is here tonight.
Yes, I noticed we've got the retired chairman and the newly elected chairman, George Gomes. We're glad to have you with us. Mr. Mack. Mr. Mack has been a servant of this community since the Mayflower came over, and so we want to thank him for his service over all these years to the people of the North area, then the North Charleston District, then the city, and now a combination of all. Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Thank you.
And I think you had a comment, sir. You need
to say, Mr. Mayor, since July 1st, Public Works has done a great job in transitioning to the Carolina Waste. We have taken 7,000 city trash bins back into care, custody, and control. Goodness knows what we're going to do with them.
We'll wear them out.
This was a pretty ambitious schedule when we think about the fact that we started on a holiday week. But Public Works has just done a great job. We knew we were going to see some hiccups and some complaints. That's really beginning to settle down now. Job well done.
Thank you, sir. We will forward that to the Public Works Department. They do an outstanding job, and this is one of those things that we're constantly looking at, the ways to better serve at a reduced cost. And that's what's happened. And we had, I think, 11 of our people retiring. And so it was an opportunity for us to take the Dorchester County section of the city and see if there was a cost savings by letting it be done by a group that does it professionally instead of by our people. And we'll look at it and review it and see if it was successful or not. But I will pass the word along, and thank you very much, Councilman. Anything else? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting's adjourned. Yes, sir. Clifford. Good to see you, sir.
Always.